first fundamental rule of firearm safety is always keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Sometimes you'll hear this restated as make sure that you never point a firearm at anything that you don't intend to shoot, okay? They're both the same thing. So as an example, if you are sitting here handling a firearm, right? Not only do you want to make sure that you don't sit there and actually point it at something you don't intend to shoot, which is very important, but also you want to make sure that as you handle it, that the barrel of that firearm does not go past anybody or anything that you don't want it to hit. That could cause deadly injury, okay? So in this case, with this firearm, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that it doesn't point at anybody. Now, in this case, you saw that I went and I actually brought the barrel of the gun past you. Well, you're not really standing there. And also, there's actually not even a cameraman behind that camera. So that's why I did that. If there was somebody standing there, then I wouldn't have done that. So you gotta be careful about these things. And it's something that you always must be aware of when you are handling a firearm, is make sure that you always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Second rule, related to the first one, is make sure that you treat every firearm as if it's loaded. So when somebody hands you a firearm, as a good piece of etiquette, something that is very, very commonly practiced in the industry, is you should always clear it. What does that mean? It means you grab it, you open the action, and you check it to make sure that there's not a bullet in the chamber or one ready to go into the magazine, okay? Now, even after that, okay, we want to make sure that we treat it as if it's loaded. And we try to honor that firearm and the barrel of it and wherever it's pointing to make sure that if it was loaded, right, if we knew that it was loaded, is that still a direction that we would point it? In most cases, what does that mean? It means down is a pretty safe direction. It means that up can be a very safe direction, or in this case, because we're at the range, down range is a good place to put it. So whenever you're at the range, you can always just set the gun down, always point it down range. Best and safest direction to have the gun pointed. The third fundamental rule of firearm safety is always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. So what does that mean? It means not only do you want to have your finger a little ways off the trigger, it means we want to have our finger a long ways off the trigger. You should build into your habit patterns that when you reach for that firearm and when you grab it, that your pointer finger, your trigger finger, in this case I'm right-handed, is well away from the trigger. And you keep it there until you have your sights on target and you are ready to fire. And only then do you take and place your trigger finger onto that trigger, okay? That's the third fundamental rule of firearm safety. There's something about human nature that when we grab a gun, there's a habit in people to stick their fingers in the trigger guard of a firearm. We want to make sure that we don't do that. We want to make sure that we build that habit pattern, build that discipline so that anytime you grab a firearm, you have your finger off the trigger. The last rule of firearm safety, the fundamental rule of firearm safety, is ensure that you are aware of what your target is and what's behind it. So at a range, this is very simple. We want to make sure that we're shooting at the appropriate target. Sometimes if you're in competition shooting, it can be challenging to discern what your target is versus what a no-shoot target is. But you want to make sure that you are positively identifying what your target is. Maybe if you're practicing here, which part of the target are you aiming at? Train yourself to build that discipline in, as well as then what's behind it. Now, this gets into a lot of, you can talk about ballistics all day and things like that, but you want to understand that bullets don't necessarily stop with whatever your target is. At the range, we see this a lot because what will happen is people will shoot at a target that is a long ways away, and the target may be high and they may be short, and what they end up doing is their bullets, while they hit their intended target, it goes through the target and then it hits the ceiling or it hits the floor or a wall. So these are kind of some of the things that you want to pay attention to in a range setting. So that's the 4 fundamental rules of firearm safety. Always keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Always treat the firearm as if it's loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to shoot. And always know what your target is and know what's behind it. And whenever you come to the range, please make sure that you abide by all of them very strictly and you can have a good, safe time with your firearm.